I absolutely love being outside. I love the freedom. It's busy and it's hard, but it's never something that I don't want to do. It's just really, really lovely knowing that you're producing from a tiny seed food, or you've seen the lambs born and then you're producing meat, and you know, we can create a plate of food that we have created from the very, very start, and that is just so fulfilling. We're a 10-acre holding, and we keep Lockton, sheep, ducks, geese, poultry, and we grow some veg. We mostly grow at the moment though is chilies, and that's Stuart's baby.
With us having a fairly small area to work with, it's always been very much about maximising what you've got and working with what you've got. With livestock, you obviously have pressures on the land that you've got. You have to have a certain amount of space for them. And it's all about, we were trying to find new ways of using the land. We want to cover off all the things that you need to live and get by with food. So, you know, we've obviously got the sheep and the geese for the meat, we've got the eggs, we grow the vegetables. And this, with the chilies, was just a little bit of differentiation really. We did a thing called Manx March around about 3 years ago. It was just a little idea presented to us about trying to just eat food from the Isle of Man for a period of time. A little bit about supporting local, a little bit about food security, all the things that are buzzwords at the moment. And what sprung out of that was where there were a few gaps. Being a keen cook, I'd noticed that you couldn't get the varieties of chilies that I liked to cook with. So the chili thing was kind of born out of that.
So this is the chili that started it all.
That's the chili that started it all off, yeah.
This is why we now have a commercial polytunnel, because Stuart wanted a couple of these. Yeah. And now he can have a couple of these whenever he'd like.
Whenever I like, yeah. That's just a little bit off being ripe. It's a little bit orange, yeah. It'll go really deep, beautiful red. We've got so many beautiful flavours, different levels of heat, so many different uses in cooking throughout the polytunnel. And yet this one is the most popular fresh chilli that we sell by a long way. And it's the Carolina Reaper. Again, if you think in terms of jalapeno being 8,000 to 10,000 Scoville, Scotch bonnet around about 200,000 Scoville, give or take. This is 2.2 million Scoville, so this is twice the heat of police pepper spray. Then we do make a hot sauce with them because people want a hot sauce made with them. I have to wear double gloves and a mask to work with them. They are that potent. So we've got jalapenos all along here. So let's see. They're growing. That's a fairly immature one. What you're looking for on there is you're looking for it to get a nice deeper green, and it'll get some corking on it. Now they'd be rejected by a supermarket if they had corking on it. That's really what you want to see on a jalapeno. And you can see there we've got there, that one's showing the corking beautifully on there. So that's really what you want on a jalapeno. And that one's ripened, so you could smoke that, dry that, and that is chipotle.
These here, these are my absolute favourite. So these are the Agi lemon I was talking about. I became obsessed with these after the first chili eating competition that we did. The contestants all reported about the citrus flavour that it had, and it was so lemony. So I got brave, I tried, and they're quite hot, but you can definitely get that burst of lemon. I absolutely adore it. So I lent on Stuart because he came up with the chili plan, and I said, there's got to be a lot of Agi lemon.
And so, indeed there are.
Yes, so we've got plenty. And these are the chilies that we use in the lemon and herb sauce.
Yes. There's a very famous goat farm quite near us, and I wanted to make a goat curry, Jamaican goat curry. So I thought I'd go and get some Scotch bonnets, and I couldn't get any Scotch bonnets anywhere. I thought, well, I'll grow some of my own next year. But you don't just grow one. You don't just grow one plant, do you? So I grew, I think, around about 24 plants that first year. And it kind of grew from there. And then we were doing Food and Drink Festival, which was primarily around our veg offering at the time. But we decided we'd discuss about the chilies and what we were planning to do and how we were going to extend it and what we were going to grow. and see if there was any interest there. On the basis of that, I did a few hot sauces, and we took those to Food and Drink just as a bit of interest, just as something to sell, and it just went crazy. Everybody was interested in the chilies. No one was interested in the veg boxes at all. Everybody wanted to know about the chilies. Everybody wanted a picture taken with the Carolina Reaper, or wanted to know about our chili eating competitions, and it just went crazy. Even I didn't think on an island of 80,000 people, you're not surely going to get that many chili freaks. But although it's a small island, there's a lot of very keen cooks here, and there's a lot of people who are very invested in the island's produce. We're also very mindful of diversification. We've been asked in the past, would we consider doing just chickens, just sheep, just whatever, just vegetables? And we could probably make a decent living out of it, or certainly get by doing that. But we've both always talked and said that's not us. We don't just want to look after poultry, or just look after sheep, or just do veg. We want to do a little bit of everything. And the great thing about the chilies, it's very minimal input apart from getting seeds in. We have all our own compost that we can produce as well. We do no dig. So everything to grow them, we can pretty much source on farm. Getting started, we had to import bits and pieces, but continuing, we should be fairly self-reliant. So that's a good thing. And also, what we don't sell, we can either dehydrate, we can freeze, or we can turn into sauces. So the whole circle of it works really well. There's no waste at all with these plants. Everything gets used. So how we grow them, basically in the polytunnel, it's no dig principle. So luckily you have the big blank canvas with the polytunnel, so we could lay it out how we wanted. In terms of creating the beds, we do no dig. And again, going back to what we said about minimal input, we use our old feed sacks, basically as the bottom layer. Our paper feed sacks as the bottom layer for our no dig. So we put those down. We put some of our sheep's wool down as well, and then we put the compost on top of that. With chilies, when you're growing them, if you go online or if you read any resources, they will blind you with science, because it seems like it's quite an obsessive, competitive area for growing. They'll tell you should only plant them on the third Sunday after a full moon, and only water them in unicorns tiers. We potted them on once, and basically from the seedling module into a larger single pot, about 5 centimetre pot. Then from there they went straight in the ground, and that was it. We didn't put irrigation in. Generally a chili plant wants its roots to go looking for water from arid regions, so as much as possible we try and replicate that, and we try to water them underneath as much as we can, so an overhead irrigation kit was never going to work.
We have got used to failure. You have to be resilient. Things don't always go to plan. So you do have to look at what you're doing and then remind yourself of what is going really, really well for you. You just got to keep going as well. Sometimes, you run into, weather problems, supply issues. Part of what we're doing is low input to try and sort of circumvent some of the supply issues that a lot of farms are finding problems with at the minute. So that actually puts us in a really strong position, because the poultry create the feed for the chilies, so we don't use any chemicals, we don't use any poisons, so everything we've got all the solutions we come up with have to sort of stick to those rules, because that's something we won't compromise on, which does make it a little bit more difficult sometimes. But we've got plans. You always have to have a plan, and the long-term plan, you have to accept you'll probably never get there, because it'll change on the way, and you just have to go with what works well, and if it's working well, do a bit more of it.